Coming up, an overtime thriller between the Celtics and Knicks, and the Grizzlies fall to the Clippers without Ja. This is Locked On Game to Game, NBA.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game NBA, local experts going over the biggest stories on the hardwood. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you so much for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. The best game of the night featured 10 minutes of bonus basketballs. The Knicks outlasted the Celtics after double overtime at the TD Garden. Locked On Celtics and Locked On Knicks are in to recap that dramatic finish.
Emmanuel, quickly, what did we just witness? Alex Wolf from Locked On Knicks here. Emmanuel quickly, 55 minutes in 2 overtimes, a career high, 38 points, another career high, 8 rebounds, 7 assists in place of the injured Jalen Brunson. What more can you say about this dude at this point? He put the team on his back on a night when they needed him. He started and he played 55 minutes. RJ Barrett and Julius Randle played their part. Mitchell Robinson did his thing. Josh Hart had some moments, but make no mistake, this was the Emmanuel Quickley game. And if he wasn't the favorite for the 6th man of the year, and granted, of course, this came in a start, he should be the favorite now. We'll have more on Locked On Knicks.
Celtics go to double overtime against the Knicks after a frantic fourth quarter comeback, but fall just short. No legs left on Al Horford's potential game winner. I'm John Corrales of the Locked On Celtics podcast here at the TD Garden. And Celtics, I think, just ran out of gas. Tons of minutes for everybody. And at the end, in the second overtime, the Knicks went to the glass, got a ton of offensive rebounds, and that's how they ended up pulling away. The Celtics had a chance, but their offense was a little disjointed. Joe Mazzulla calls a timeout. Al Horford gets an open three-pointer from the corner that he hit earlier in the game, but this one just doesn't fall. This is a tough one, and in a worst-case scenario for the Boston Celtics, who have been struggling lately and had another situation here at the end of the third quarter into the fourth where they look like they just plain forgot how to play basketball. This time they forced the overtime, but the double OT on the front end of a back-to-back. Now they got to go to Cleveland. No Robert Williams for tomorrow. No Al Horford for tomorrow. The Celtics look like that second seed is going to be more where they finish.
Two of the best duos in the West faced off. Kyrie and Luka, and KD and Devin Booker were in Dallas as Phoenix came out on top. Locked On Mavericks goes over that final for us on Sunday.
An insane game came down to a final shot, and Luka Doncic just didn't have it for the Dallas Mavericks. Nick Angst over the Locked On Mavericks podcast. The Dallas Mavericks lose 126-130, and just a back-and-forth game. The stars came out tonight. Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant combined for 200 points. It felt like these guys are really going after it for different reasons. You can tell these teams still don't like each other. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving now brought into that mix, and Luka Doncic just didn't have it from the tip. Early before the game, Luka Doncic usually warms up 60 minutes before the game. He did not come out in time enough. He was getting treatment early. He came out late to Mavs warm-ups when they came out and did the layup lines. He just didn't have it. He was 8 of 22 from the field in this game, and he missed a bunny late that would have tied it 126-126, and that was kind of the story of the game. Mavs bench showed up really big in this game. Tim Hardaway Jr., Christian Wood, really, really great games off the bench. It just wasn't enough for the Dallas Mavericks.
Anthony Davis picking up the slack last night for the Lakers. They got the win over Golden State. Locked On Warriors goes over some of the recent woes for their team.
The Golden State Warriors' 5-game winning streak is snapped. I'm Cyrus Sautzes with your Locked On Warriors Locked On Now recap of the Golden State Warriors continuing to struggle mightily on the road, this time falling to the Los Angeles Lakers in LA in front of a nationally televised ABC audience. The Warriors now own the 4th worst road record in the NBA as this spoiled the return of Stephen Curry, who led all scorers for the Warriors with 27 points. Anthony Davis did light up the Warriors for 39. And in an interesting caveat of this game, Anthony Lamb played nearly double the minutes of Jonathan Kuminga, who was averaging 27.4 minutes per game during the winning streak. Kuminga only played 13. The Warriors have an interesting decision with Lamb, who who has reached his 50-game limit as a two-way player. Kylan Mills and I will break this all down tomorrow with a new episode.
The Trailblazers and Magic went down to the wire, but it's that experience for Portland that was the difference. Locked On Magic learning the hard lessons right now. Locked On Trailblazers says all praise goes to Dame for dishing it off when it matters.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic. The Orlando Magic fall to the Portland Trailblazers 122-119 in a game that was as close as the score indicated. Neither team was able to take much of a lead. Every star played well, with Damian Lillard, of course, scoring 41 points, Paolo Banchero scoring 26, Franz Wagner scoring 24. This was not a game that was about the Magic missing something, although they certainly missed Wendell Carter's interior presence defensively. This was simply about making plays, and that's been one of the key lessons for a young Orlando Magic team, is they simply have to be able to make plays. These games, these close games, come down to making or missing a shot. Orlando had several opportunities, down by 2, down by 1, to take the lead, tie the game, put themselves in a real position to win this thing. And in the end, it came down to Portland made their shots. Nasir Little with a huge three with about 30 seconds left that gave Portland a 3-point lead and really put this game out of reach. It's those little things. It's one play, one shot that changes everything, and that's still the lesson this Magic team is trying to learn.
Damian Lillard scored 41 points, and when the game was on the line with a minute left, he gave the ball to his teammates, and they delivered. I'm Mike Richmond, host of Locked On Blazers. And after a monster third quarter in which Damian Lillard scored 17 points to keep the Blazers ahead against the pesky Orlando Magic in Central Florida, he got a lot of attention in the fourth quarter, and with the hard traps and double teams coming his way, Damian Lillard did what he's supposed to do. He gave up the ball, and with a tie game under a minute to go, he got rid of it. Drew Eubanks found Jeremy Grant in the corner. Jeremy Grant drove and found Nasir Little camped above the three-point line. He splashes down a three. They go ahead with 30 seconds left, and that would end up being the difference, the biggest shot of the game. Are the Blazers supposed to win this time of year? I have no idea, but they did. Listen to Locked On Blazers for more.
Coming up, the Clippers snapped their 5-game losing skid with a win over Memphis. This is Locked On Game to Game NBA. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by PrizePicks. It is the super simple way for you to play daily fantasy sports. What you do is you pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. You're not competing against anybody else, just against those projections. So what you want to do is download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 with promo code Locked On. So if you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, PrizePicks will give you $50. So don't forget to enter that promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. Welcome back. You are listening to Locked On Game to Game NBA. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you once again for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Ja Morant out serving his first game of that time away from the team. Memphis Grizzlies could not pick up a win over the Clippers on Sunday night without him. Locked On Grizzlies goes over that loss.
No Ja Morant, no Dillon Brooks, no Brandon Clark, no Steven Adams. 4 of the top 8 players for the Memphis Grizzlies were out on Sunday night, and Memphis had a chance late to win the game. The way they got there was a little different, though. I'm Joe Mullinax of Locked On Grizzlies, and it was a competitive game for the Memphis Grizzlies against the Los Angeles Clippers, one that perhaps was more competitive than many thought it would be. That was behind tremendous efforts from players like Tyus Jones, who especially in the third quarter of the contest had one of the best runs of his NBA career. 51 points for the Memphis Grizzlies in the third quarter, second best in franchise history. But unfortunately, even with 4 main rotation pieces out, still the same issues haunting the Grizzlies. Another fourth quarter collapse. The Los Angeles Clippers come roaring back. No silver linings, just a rough end to a pretty rough weekend for the Memphis Grizzlies.
OKC taking a 2-game sweep over their weekend series against Utah. Locked On Jazz and Locked On Thunder are in to break things down for us.
The Utah Jazz came to Oklahoma City for a 2-game stop, and they fall in both of them. They're now in the playoff picture, maybe looking out to the play-in rather than in. David Locke of Locked On Jazz. The Jazz tonight fell behind by 15 at the end of one and 19 at the half. They battled back and actually won the third and the fourth quarters, but it was not enough. Playing without Lauri Markkanen, the Jazz offense really was stymied early, an offensive rating of 77 in the first quarter. Thunder made it too much for them to overcome. They only had an offensive rating of 96 in the first half. One highlight was former UCLA Bruin March Madness star Johnny Juzang came off the bench for the Jazz and had a career-high 11 points for the Jazz. Jordan Clarkson ended up with 13 assists for the Jazz, who were playing, as I mentioned, without Lauri Markkanen. Chris Dunn, the former 5th pick of an NBA draft, who is on his second 10-day contract with the Jazz, had 17 points in this game for Utah, who fell to the Thunder for the second straight time, 130-119.
The Oklahoma City Thunder complete a baseball series sweep of the Utah Jazz, which is massive in the play-in standings. I'm Marlon Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder, and the Thunder got a big win with SGA playing 37 minutes, first came back from injury, and he dropped almost 40 points. But it was Jalen Williams and Josh Giddey who also made key contributions. Why those three are poised for a big run this year and many years beyond. Find out on Locked On Thunder.
Triple-double by Tyrese Halliburton, and Indiana tops the Bulls by 3 on Sunday. Locked On Pacers joins us with the exact details.
Tony East here in the United Center, where the Pacers just beat the Bulls in a crazy, dramatic game, 125-122, the final score, and Tyrese Halliburton, the hero in the end, with mere seconds to go, rising up from nearly 30 feet to hit the game winner, and he was brilliant all night. Rick Carlisle gave him credit for his balance, and Halliburton himself, 29 points and 11 assists to get the Pacers a huge win. They passed the Bulls in the standings. They now own the tiebreaker over their division rival, an absolutely massive game for the Pacers to close off a 3-1 road trip, and for the Pacers, momentum was huge in this game. Lots of up and down moments, lots of runs, but the Pacers hit a buzzer beater in the first quarter and the third quarter, and they had a shot in the final 2 seconds of the second and fourth quarters. Those moments ended up propelling the Pacers early in the ensuing quarters, and they rode that momentum to a key win over a division rival. We'll have more on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
Milwaukee's win streak did not make it through the weekend, but they got back to their winning ways last night against Washington. Locked On Bucks and Locked On Wizards join us for more on both sides.
It took a little longer than expected, but the Bucks get back on track. They beat the Wizards on the second night of a back-to-back. My name's Kane Pittman. I'm the host of the Locked On Bucks podcast. Giannis recorded a triple-double in this game, 23 points, 13 assists, and 10 rebounds. The last rebound came in interesting fashion. He's dribbling out the clock. He shoots his own shot, intentionally missing so he can collect that 10th rebound. I don't care what anyone says. This was a hilarious moment, and if we are at the point where the players can have no fun at all on the basketball court, Giannis was laughing, his teammates were laughing, then we really need to have a long, hard look at the way that we covered this game of basketball. Giannis was great tonight, but it was all about the other players. Javon Carter with 6 threes, Joe Ingles with 4 threes, Grayson Allen coming up clutch with some big shots in the fourth quarter when they needed it. This is an extremely deep team, and Mike Budenholzer is going to have some interesting options to turn to during the postseason. That's exactly where you want to be. The Bucks are a game and a half ahead of the Boston Celtics now for the number 1 seed in the East. Catch it all on Locked On Bucks, wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again from Locked On Wizards. The Washington Wizards fall to the Milwaukee Bucks tonight at home, 117-111. So what contributed to this loss? Well, it wasn't for the lack of trying. Bradley Beal, franchise player, added 33 points. Kristaps Porzingis, 24 points, 14 rebounds, and Deni Avdija added 17 points off the bench. So how did they lose this game? Well, easy. They could no pressure on the perimeter. The Milwaukee Bucks were able to shoot 45% from behind the arc, and even though they tried to double team and even at times triple team Giannis, it led to a lot of open shots, and the Bucks capitalized. Second, battle of the benches. Now, if you look at the Wizards bench, yes, Deni had 17 points and Kispert had 11, but Kendrick Nunn had 3 and Goodwin had 3. But if you look at the Bucks, Javon Carter had 20 points and Joe Ingles 14. So they definitely won the battle of the benches. So this was a tough loss for the Wizards because they came back in the second half, but this is a measuring stick game. So appreciate everybody tonight. And
that will do it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game NBA. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On NBA and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.